In the fall of 1983, in an office park in Annandale, Virginia, there was a consulting firm called Business Security International. It had a suite, a sign, invoices, contracts, and men who drove in every morning past the dry cleaner and the bank like every other commuter in the Northern Virginia sprawl. The firm advised clients on corporate security, at least on paper. There were no real clients. There was no real firm. Business Security International was the United States Army, wearing a company the way an operator wears a beard, and the men filing its paperwork belonged to one of the most classified programs in the American government. The firm was a costume, and it was not the only one, because by the early 80s, the Pentagon had quietly gone into a business nobody associates with soldiers, the business of building businesses. This video is about the paper side of the special operations world, the fake companies, the rotating code names, and the filing cabinet sleight of hand that keeps Delta Force and its sister organizations off the books. Not rumors, the documented architecture, the one that surfaced through congressional investigators, court records, and the reporters who spent decades prying at it. Subscribe to War Code, because the deepest cover Delta ever wore was never camouflage. It was a name that meant nothing, typed on a form nobody reads twice. Start with the problem the whole system exists to solve, because it is a problem armies did not have until units like Delta existed. Everything the American military does leaves a paper shadow. Congress appropriates the money, so budgets exist. Soldiers get paid and promoted, so personnel files exist. Equipment gets bought, so contracts exist. You cannot fund a secret unit out of a briefcase of cash, not legally. And the moment you fund it properly, its true name starts propagating through 1,000 documents handled by clerks, with no clearance, and contractors with no need to know. So the architects of the classified world made a cold calculation. If the paper trail cannot be eliminated, it can be made meaningless. Let every document be true, and every name on it be empty. And the calculation got made at scale in one particular decade. After the burned helicopters at Desert One, the Reagan-era Pentagon built secret capability the way other administrations built highways, and Stephen Emerson's reporting from the end of that decade described the result: a constellation of compartmented units, programs, and front entities that had multiplied so fast that parts of the Army itself lost track of the full map. Time magazine simply called the phenomenon the Secret Army. Congress funded much of it without knowing precisely what it was funding, which was the design, and investigators who eventually descended into the paperwork found that the same machinery that fooled foreign intelligence services had, in places, fooled the American government too. Hold that thought, because this video ends in that basement. But first, the three machines themselves, because each one solved a different piece of the visibility problem, and each one is a different kind of lie. The legal container for most of it is a mechanism called the Special Access Program, a category of secret above ordinary secret, where the existence of the program is itself classified and access is granted human by human on a list, by name. Ordinary classified programs hide their contents. A Special Access Program hides the fact that there is anything to hide, and the two-word code names you are about to hear are the door plates on those vaults. What follows is how three different machines were built on that one principle, and they are three different machines: a unit hiding its own name, an intelligence organization cycling through disposable names, and an air force that pretended to be a charter company. Keep them separate, because the men who lived them certainly did. The first machine is Delta's own designation, and it is the simplest and the strangest. The unit was founded on paper in the late 70s as the 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment Delta, a name that at least admits something interesting exists. That admission was a problem, and so the fix was bureaucratic camouflage of the purest kind. For decades of its life, the unit has traveled through the Army's administrative bloodstream under the title Combat Applications Group, and the genius of that name is its perfect boredom. Combat Applications Group sounds like an office that evaluates boot soles and rifle slings, a place with fluorescent lights and a suggestion box, and that is precisely the design. A curious clerk who sees CAG on a funding line files it next to the pencil budget and moves on. The machine reaches all the way into the men's own records, promotion boards reviewing careers that read as one bland assignment after another, valor recognized in citations written carefully enough to honor the man while describing nothing, personnel files that are technically complete and functionally silent. An operator can spend 20 years at the tip of American power and retire with paperwork indistinguishable from a supply officer's. Inside the joint task forces of the terror wars, the unit wore yet another skin, Task Force Green, a color on a whiteboard. And floating above all the paper names sits the oldest layer of the machine, the official position of the United States government, which is that there is nothing to name. The Pentagon has never formally acknowledged the unit's existence, not through 5 decades, not after its operations filled books and films, and that non-admission does real administrative work. A unit that officially does not exist cannot be asked for its budget in an open hearing, cannot have its casualties attributed in a press release, and cannot have its name FOIA'd in any way that must be answered honestly. The cover designations live inside that silence like nesting dolls, deniability wrapped around blandness, wrapped around a letterhead. And when reporters eventually burned the CAG name in public, the record suggests the machine simply shed it. One respected national security journalist reported in 2010 that the unit had become the Army compartmented element, and then, years later, the same journalist reported that the Army compartmented element might be a different organization entirely. Understand what that contradiction means. It does not mean the reporting failed. It means the system worked, because the public record on the unit's own name now contains its own confusion, and confusion is the product. Somewhere in the Army's books today, there is a plain gray title with money moving under it, and the honest answer to what it says is that nobody outside the vault knows, and nobody inside will say. The second machine does not just wear a false name, it molts them. In the summer of 1980, with hostages still in Tehran and a second rescue attempt in planning, the Army built a small organization called the Field Operations Group to do what the CIA had proven unable to do: put military intelligence collectors on the ground ahead of the shooters. The second rescue never launched, but the organization was too useful to die, and in 1981 it was formalized as the Intelligence Support Activity, the ISA. The outfit insiders came to call simply the Activity, or, with a smile, the Army of Northern Virginia. Its first famous proof of concept came almost immediately and on an unexpected continent. In December of 1981, Italian Red Brigade's terrorists kidnapped an American general, James Dozier, from his apartment in Verona, and for weeks the most powerful nation on earth could not find one of its own general officers in a friendly country. The Activity deployed its signals collectors to Italy, and Michael Smith's history credits their direction-finding work, alongside the Italian services, with helping tighten the net until Italian police kicked in an apartment door in Padua in January and pulled Dozier out alive, his captors frozen over their weapons. No American fired a shot, no American was named, and the organization that helped crack the case did not officially exist. That is the Activity's signature, present everywhere in the record, visible nowhere in the credits. Its people were a different species from the assaulters they served, linguists who dreamed in other alphabets, signal specialists who could pull a voice out of static, human intelligence collectors comfortable being nobody in particular in dangerous cities, and that skill set made the organization even more allergic to light than the shooters were. From its first years, the Activity lived inside nested cover, its very existence tucked behind gray institutional titles like the Office of Military Support and the Studies and Analysis Activity, names engineered to induce sleep. But the deeper protection was the rotation. The Activity's operational identity has lived inside a sequence of 2-word special access program names, and the ones that have surfaced in reporting over 4 decades read like a poem written by a filing cabinet. Optimized Talent, Royal Cape, Grantor Shadow, Centra Spike, Torn Victor, Quiet Enable, Cemetery Wind, Gray Fox. Each name is a wrapper, and the doctrine is disposability. A name exists to be burned. The moment a code name appears in a newspaper, it has done its final job, absorbing the exposure, and the organization slides out of it like a hand from a glove and takes up the next one. The words themselves come from a registry of approved randomness, deliberately unconnected to any mission they might describe, because a name that describes is a name that leaks. Journalists spent the 90s chasing Centra Spike and the 2000s chasing Gray Fox, and every chase ended the same way, with the name confirmed, the organization gone, and a new pair of meaningless words already signed into the registry. If you collect the names nobody was supposed to say, you are in the right unit. Cadets get every video 24 hours early and a badge in the comments. The link is below. And one of those disposable names ran the most famous manhunt in the hemisphere. In the early 90s, on the 5th floor of the American Embassy in Bogota, there worked a small element known to the classified world as Centra Spike. Mark Bowden documented its war in killing Pablo. Its men flew unassuming Beechcraft turboprops in civilian paint, planes you would not look at twice on any Colombian apron, with direction-finding equipment folded invisibly into the airframes. When Pablo Escobar pressed the transmit key on his radio telephone, those aircraft cut his position out of the sky, pass after pass, tightening the box around the most wanted man alive. When the Colombian police pulled the trigger on that rooftop in Medellin, but the geometry that put them on the right block came, in Bowden's account, from the quiet men upstairs at the embassy and their forgettable airplanes. Congress was told almost nothing. The cartels knew less. And in one of the strangest passages of Bowden's account, the name even beat the professionals at their own game. The CIA fielded its own technical team to the same hunt, and when the two efforts were quietly tested against each other on a known target, the Army's men and their cheap turboprops fixed the position faster and tighter than the agency's far more expensive apparatus. The station was not amused. The name Centra Spike appeared on no aircraft registry, no embassy directory, no press release, and the men it covered helped end a war that had killed presidential candidates and airliners full of civilians. That is what a name that means nothing can do when it is worn by the right people. The third machine flew, and it came dressed as a business. On the 2nd of March 1981, the Army and the CIA jointly stood up a clandestine aviation unit, codenamed Sea Spray, and its mission statement was a phrase that never appears on recruiting posters: covered air. Somebody has to move the classified world's people and cargo, and they cannot move on green airframes with United States Army stenciled on the tail. So Sea Spray's aircraft wore civilian registrations and civilian paint, and its front door was a commercial cover company called Aviation Tech Services, a name chosen by the same poets who wrote Combat Applications Group. On paper, charter flights. In reality, a fleet that could put intelligence collectors, operators, and equipment anywhere in a hemisphere, with nothing connecting the flight to the Pentagon, but a lie with a tail number. Building that fleet meant building lives to go with it. Aircraft purchased through intermediaries so no procurement record pointed home. Pilots and crews maintaining civilian identities thick enough to survive a ramp check in a suspicious country. Hangars leased by companies that existed only in a filing drawer in Delaware. Covered air is not a trick you perform once at the border. It is a second economy, running in parallel, every day, indefinitely. Later reporting describes Sea Spray's lineage folding into the Special Operations Aviation architecture that serves the unit to this day. The fake charter company was not a trick the system tried once. It was a founding organ. But the paper world has a basement, and the channel owes you the honest tour of it. Covert money is money without auditors, and in July of 1983, the Army stood up a support unit codenamed Yellow Fruit, tasked with providing operational security and logistical cover for the new secret architecture, and housed it inside that consulting firm in Annandale, Business Security International. Within months, by Stephen Emerson's account in Secret Warriors, the firm's books had become exactly what unaudited books become. Investigators found financial abuses, and the unit's commander, Lieutenant Colonel Dale Duncan, was court-martialed over roughly $90,000 in missing funds papered over with phony receipts. He was convicted of financial improprieties and security violations and sentenced to 7 years, and the proceedings themselves were held in such secrecy that they became a story in their own right, secret trials for the crimes of a secret unit. The scandal ripped through the young covert establishment and forced years of reform, investigators pulling threads into adjacent programs, Congress demanding maps of the secret sprawl it had been funding blind, tighter accounting, real oversight cells, adult supervision bolted onto the shadow world. Emerson's judgment in Secret Warriors was that the whole affair had been avoidable and predictable in equal measure, the growing pains of a bureaucracy learning that darkness is a tool with a maintenance schedule. Take the lesson the record actually teaches. The cover system did not fail at Annandale. The cover system worked flawlessly, which is why the money could rot unwatched inside it. Paper that hides a unit from the KGB hides a colonel from the auditors just as well. And any honest admirer of this world has to hold both truths at once. There is one more layer, the deepest one, where the fake company becomes a fake man. Naylor's history of JSOC describes the arrangement, operators detailed away from the military entirely and placed under CIA authorities, Title 50 of the United States Code, sheep-dipped in the old slang, so that the American standing in a foreign city is, in every legal and administrative sense, not a soldier. The relaxed grooming the unit is famous for, the beards, the civilian hair, the forgettable clothes, is the visible edge of that machinery, and the cover documentation behind it is the invisible rest, identities that the trade calls backstopped, meaning the name on the passport has a history that answers the phone, an employer that confirms, a paper past that holds up to a hostile records check. A designation hides a unit, a front company hides an airplane. This last mechanism hides a human being inside a second life, and it is the reason the script you are hearing names no names from the last 15 years. What are the cover designations today? Which companies exist right now in which office parks? Which men are carrying which second lives? The honest answer is unknown, and the correct answer is that it should stay unknown. This channel documents the history. The present tense belongs sealed. So here is the argument to have below, and yellow fruit makes it a real one. The paper labyrinth exists for two reasons at once: protecting operators from enemies and protecting programs from scrutiny. And those are not the same thing. One is sacred and the other is dangerous, and they are printed on the same forms. So where do you stand? Is a democracy that builds fake companies for its soldiers showing wisdom or rehearsing corruption? And would you rather live in the country that cannot hide its warriors or the one that occasionally cannot find its own money? The veterans and the skeptics in this comment section will not agree, and that fight is worth having in the open, which is the one place the subject of this video will never be. Somewhere tonight, in some office park, a light is on in a company that does not exist, and both of your answers are true at once. Official members get the versions that do not survive the public cut, the names and details we trim before publish. The door is below.